and then we can start with the lunch. Thank you. Are we ready? Ching, 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 ching. I think we need a bell. Well, could you just give the old, give it the tap on the glass? There you go. Thank you, Michaela. Thank you. Thank you. For those of you who attended the spectacular event at the spectacular Bernabeu Stadium last night, you might be wondering what happened to the carne picada sin grasa. Well, my visit to Dia's supermarket was a success, and I returned home triumphantly with my kilo of lean mincemeat to my Spanish wife, who was very proud of me. So I had passed my first challenge in adapting to Spanish culture. But this was the first of many challenges related to food. So let's talk about the time that Spanish people normally eat lunch, right? What time is it now? It's about 2 o'clock, right? This is still a little bit early for your hosts. They are doing it for you, the international community. And there are some Spanish people here who are not hungry yet, I can see. So when I moved to Spain, I had to become accustomed to eating much later. But the food here is always worth waiting for. Now, when you think of Spanish cuisine, you might think of paella and chorizo. And like the celebrity chef Jamie Oliver, you might be thinking about mixing your paella and your chorizo. Please don't do that. Spanish cuisine has so much more to offer than this. Spain is one of the great fine dining destinations of the world. It's a top 5 country by the number of Michelin stars. It was home to the 2 best restaurants in 2024, and every town and every city in the country is famous for a particular type of cuisine. So, for example, what is the historic town Ávila famous for? Chuletón, right? It's not famous for its medieval walls. It is famous for its chuletón, which is the most delicious steak that you've ever tasted in your life. What is the historic town Segovia famous for? Suckling pig. Who said that over there? There we go. We have a well-traveled international visitor. Suckling pig, yeah, right. It's not famous for its Roman aqueduct. It's famous for pork meat that you can cut. It's so tender that you can cut it with the edge of a knife, of the edge of a plate. My Spanish wife is from a small fishing town in the north of Spain called Santoña. Oh, but this is a town that only has 11,000 people, right? It's a small fishing village. What is Santoña famous for? Anchovies, right? Las anchoas de Santoña. So these are delicate, exquisite anchovies. And the question is there a town in your country that's famous for anchovies? There is in Spain. This shows how seriously Spanish people take their food, how important it is to be able to share their special dish with family, friends, and business partners like you. And that's what we're going to do in a moment. We have a special menu prepared by Life Gourmet Catering that counts on the brilliant Ramon Freixa among its owners. He's a 2 Michelin star chef who takes traditional Spanish dishes and modernizes them through technique and innovation. His food is a true statement of Spanish excellence. Now, as I said before, Spanish food is always worth waiting for. So before we dig in, I'd like to invite Carlos Cuerpo, the Minister of Economy, Trade and Business, to say a few more words about the themes of this summit. Let's give him a big round of applause.
So there's a lot of pressure because I'm the one keeping you from actually eating. So I'll try to be brief. As you know, and if you don't, I'm going to tell you, this hall is usually or normally used for the rehearsal of the Madrid Symphony Orchestra. The hall, of course, is not arranged as it is today, because you would see many musical instruments, of course, and not people eating at fantastic tables. And as you see, the wooden canopies are acoustic instruments so that we can even enhance the hall's sound quality. It has an exceptional acoustic performance, this hall, which reminds me of the main purpose of the primary objective of this meeting, which is actually to give you the floor and of the purpose of the whole day today, which is to ensure that you are clearly heard, and that's why we're here today. So I'll try to be as brief as I can, but of course, first a message of thanks to all of you for participating in this event. You've traveled from all around the world, and I wanted to thank you, and I hope that the day for you today would be a day of success and many foreseeable endeavors. We hope that your morning has been productive already. Mine has, I can tell you, and I'm confident that the rest of the day will also be. 3 messages from my side. So first, which is an important one, is a message of optimism and opportunity. We're living challenging times, to say the least. The global economy is experiencing a highly turbulent period, marked by significant uncertainty, volatility even. In recent years, we have, all of us, faced a pandemic, a war at the doors of Europe, resulting energy crisis, new trade environment, and now also the war and the conflict in the Middle East. But nonetheless, as I always say, we have to keep on being optimistic. Against this backdrop, the primary goal of this second edition of Invest in Spain Summit is to confirm our availability and our ability to address any issues that you might have, to confirm the credibility of the Spanish value proposition, and to offer stability and certainty in these difficult times. We have a clear roadmap. President Sanchez already outlined it this morning, an agenda to become more competitive, to be able to grow more, an agenda that is driven by 2 main vectors, of course, our green vector and the digital one. And in the end, it all boils down to reinforcing strategic autonomy within an overall economic security agenda. And there is a clear EU dimension to this whole agenda as well. And as I like to say, it is time for Europe, but within Europe, it is time for Spain, for sure. And let me tell you why. 3 quick reasons. One is because we're leading on many fronts. Spain is leading in economic terms based on a sustained and also balanced growth model. And that's why I like to say that we are the place to be. And just let me give you a few figures to sustain this claim, because the President already told a few of them this morning as well. 2024, 2025, we were leading in terms of growth amongst advanced economies, big advanced economies. 2026, we had the IMF and its World Economic Outlook 10 days ago saying that we will be second to the US as well, so leading as well in 2026. We are leading in terms of job creation. 40% of the Eurozone jobs created in Spain, the Eurozone were created in Spain in 2025, despite us being only 10% of the size of the Eurozone, as the President reminded us this morning. But it's not just about growth. As I said, it's a balanced concept of growth going forward. So we're growing without imbalances, and that was not the case in previous occasions. Spain has a record financing capacity of 4% of GDP, which enables us to reduce external debt to below 45% of GDP, cutting it by more than half over the past 10 years. It's an extraordinary external performance, also supported by competitive exports. We have had record numbers in our tourism sector. Last year, we were almost reaching 100 million tourists in Spain. It's not bad for a roughly 50 million inhabitants country. But even on the back of these very strong numbers in terms of our tourism sector, we are exporting more in non-tourism services than in tourism services. That's usually something that is not that well known, and it is part of the modernization of our economy. So services that are related to services to firms, and therefore higher value added, and therefore high skilled professionals, and therefore higher wages. That's part of the modernization story of our country and the potential in terms of growth going forward as well. Another piece of evidence in this area, again, is that there is a strong link between FDI and exports. Actually, 43% of our exports do originate or are generated by companies with foreign capital. So that's how strongly interlinked these two dimensions are. And that's the second point I wanted to make about Spain, which is the fact that we constantly get a message of confidence from investors. So Spain is becoming a hub for investment. There is a strong endorsement from everyday decisions that you investors take, also financial investors, a strong endorsement of our policies and the future and the outlook of Spain. International perception, when we look at the business climate barometer published by IFEX, based on a survey of more than 700 CEOs and executives from foreign companies established in Spain, 85% of respondents expect to maintain or increase investment levels in our country in 2026. Spain benefits from a diverse and, of course, well-balanced presence of foreign companies across a wide range of sectors. This diversity is also reflected in this summit, as we can see, which brings together, as I said, companies from all 5 continents, more than 25 countries represented here today. And these companies do not only have an eye on our domestic market, but as I said this morning, you are benefiting from the fact that Spain is a gateway for other markets, for other countries, for foreign companies seeking to enter the Middle East market, the African market, and of course the Latin American market, where we have, I think, a privileged position as a bridge between Latin America and Europe that will only be reinforced by the Mercosur agreement. Moreover, Spain's foreign direct investment performance has been particularly strong from a qualitative standpoint. And let me go now to the data from the FDI database from the Financial Times about greenfield projects, which represent actually the most valuable projects in terms of FDI that really create value added in our country. So according to FDI Markets, the FT database on greenfield projects, Spain between 2018 and 2025, so it's not a short-term period, it's actually over 8 years, we've been number 6 in the world in terms of new greenfield projects. 6 in the world between 2018 and 2025. 4,831 greenfield projects were established in Spain, representing around 180 billion in capital expenditure, with the creation around this project of more than 4,000 jobs. So that's how much Spain has been a hub for investment. And when you look at the sectors where that investment is coming, it's actually those sectors that are a key bet in our economic policy agenda. We have been the second largest recipient in greenfield projects in the renewable energy sector. 4th largest recipient of greenfield projects involving R&D activities. 6th in projects in the software and IT services sector, including AI as well. That gives you an idea of the trends that are underscoring the structural transformation of the Spanish economy, which is moving towards a more sustainable and more productive and more competitive model as we're speaking. And the third one is, of course, the fact that we are future-oriented. We have a clear strategy, of course, with the green transition, first as a lever for growth and competitiveness. You know that by now, with our bet for renewables, the energy mix, or the presence of renewables in the energy mix has reached 60% of the electricity mix. And this is a source of sovereignty, of competitiveness, and as I just said, of investment attraction as well. Let me talk about the sovereignty factor, which is, I think, very well reflected in how isolated from the current shock we are thanks to renewables. Let me just go back to 2019, where 75% of the time, the electricity price was set by gas. That was 2019, 75% of the time. In 2026, 16% of the hours during the day, the electricity price is determined, set by gas. So that's how far we've come in terms of increasing on energy sovereignty, and that's how far we've come in terms of protecting ourselves from shocks like the one that we're having with the war in Iran. In addition, of course, we know it's a competitiveness edge, reducing the cost of electricity for our companies, for our households, which is indeed another key element, which again goes against the usual trade-off that was put on the table between fighting against climate change and being competitive. So both things can go hand in hand, and we're proving it. The second vector is, of course, the digital transformation. Modernization cannot come without digitalization of our economies. Let me just give you one particular example of how fast we're growing in terms of innovation, which has to do with the startup ecosystem and how dynamic it's been over the past 5 years. For example, looking at the size of the startup ecosystem, it has doubled over the past 5 years. We've been the third fastest growing in the EU after Ireland and Belgium. We have over a dozen unicorns right now. And growth is increasingly focused on deep tech projects, not that much services, which was the case before. So AI, biotech, food tech, amongst others. And we're also becoming, and that's, I think, a good point to be made today, a hub for international entrepreneurs. Barcelona, for example, ranks as the second city in Europe in terms of foreign funders after Berlin. There is also a regional cohesion angle to this boost, which is actually allowing leading companies to be founded across the country, beyond the Madrid and Barcelona clusters. And more than that, we're taking our expertise also abroad to collaborate with other global leading hubs. This is the case with Boston, for example. Just a week ago, we were launching a specific biotech venture fund with a target of $200 million in size, to bring our experience in R&D and clinical trials to add value to the Boston ecosystem, which is a leading one worldwide. And in turn, of course, give our businesses the opportunity to grow and to scale in the US. Third vector, talent. So we have energy, we have digitalization, and of course, we have our human capital. We have a well-trained and specialized workforce. 40 years ago, fewer than 1 in 20 Spanish adults held a university degree. Today, nearly half of all Spaniards between 25 and 34 hold a higher education degree. And importantly, what we're seeing is that there's a very dynamic labor market in high value-added sectors, which are leading the way. Out of all the jobs that were created over the past 2 years and a half, 50% of them were created in the highest ranked sectors in terms of higher salaries. So that means, again, another proof of how fast the Spanish economy is modernizing, and therefore how fast our growth model is being tilted towards these higher value-added sectors. So bottom line, talent and quality employment are also accompanying growth in a way that reveals a structural change in our economy that ensures also the path for the future, so that we maintain a balanced growth model going forward. And let me just mention one key factor in this success story, or in these good numbers, which was, of course, Next Generation EU. European funds that did accompany, thanks to the positive incentive, its reforms plus investment that are making this possible. It's an overarching strategy that helped us on the way. We're taking this process forward. As you know, Next Generation EU funds will end in 2026, but we want this investment push to continue. That's why we've launched, as you all know, España Crece, our sovereign fund, as the President told you this morning, to ensure continuity in this transformation process going forward. With an initial capital injection of 10.5 billion euros, it will seek to raise up to 60 billion euros in available financing and mobilize up to 120 whenever we introduce or incorporate co-investment with the private sector. So we're building on what worked this far, and our key investment priorities were also mentioned by the President, but we want to enhance competitiveness. We want to have these clear verticals around energy, around digitalization, but also around housing. So I will conclude now, so that we're able to eat a little bit and enjoy a fruitful conversation, because it's not that early by Spanish standards either, so it's, we can go ahead. But as I mentioned, these are challenging times marked by uncertainty, tensions, conflicts. And against this backdrop, the primary objective of this meeting today, of this Invest in Spain Summit, is to offer stability, certainty, to offer confidence to your businesses and companies, because Spain has a lot to offer. We have a clear roadmap going forward. The confidence of our investors, your confidence, has accompanied us every step of the way and is a significant part of this success story. And we have to keep on building on it, and I fully trust that we can do it going forward. Thank you very much.